so I'm Saamer Mansoor. I work as a mobile developer at a company called BGRS, Brookfield Group Relocation Services. It's a Canadian Armed Forces project. So we're helping relocate people. It was a project that was handed over for Syrian Russians to do. They gave up and they just handed it back, and they were like, hey, we're looking for someone with, to handle this project with no documentation. So that's basically what I do. But apart from that, my free time, I code for fun. And the way I got into mobile in the first place was through IoT. I really wanted to control these little electronics. And so what I thought would be really cool is, share some of that, what I learned. Because a lot of what I learned is sort of intersectional. When you go to computer science school, you study about computers and code and all that. But when you go to electrical engineering school, it's like more electronics stuff. So this is like intersectional. So not many people kind of dive into it, but it's great for like if you have an invention. If you have like a really cool idea that you're like, oh, I want to kickstart it. And so what I thought I would share is something that would get you started with that journey to Kickstarter. That could have been like a better title. but what I thought is, since I've been doing this for like 3 years now, so I was like, I always had this idea of creating a device because at companies that I worked at, they served kombucha on a different floor. Every time we went to that floor, the kombucha was always over. So we would go like 5 of us, we'll go to this other different floor, waste like 10 minutes, and there was no kombucha every single time, and it was such a pain. It's kind of like getting rejected. Who here's got rejected before? Yeah, like by a girl maybe. Maybe people don't try or something. but it's kind of like that feeling where, hey, right, where
you lose connection to your.
Okay, yeah, where like you're rejected, you're like super happy, and then you go there and it's like not there. So that's basically the inspiration. It's like, hey, we want to do something that's fun and that's good, but we don't want to be rejected. So that's why we thought. And kombucha is something like some of you who know about kombucha. It's like healthy tea. It's like soda, or beer, but it's like healthy for you. So it's like, why not? Why shouldn't we have that kombucha? It's not like it's bad for you. And so there are two parts of it. One is like the device, and the other part is like, actually staying up to date with the status of your kombucha. So for people who haven't done much Xamarin Forms or Xamarin, I was like, hey, let me just go through really quick so you guys are able to understand what's going on. Really quick. What are some priorities when people build mobile apps? Executives want a 5-star app. They're like, yeah, it has to be the best app out there. Developers had to make sure that it's device agnostic. We had to make sure that it integrates well with all the different API versions and OSs. And we want something that's easy to maintain, easy to carry on. So there's this huge debate about hybrid versus cross-platform versus native. And native people are like, yeah, we're the best. Hybrid are like, we're the best. PWA, we're the best. Everyone's like, yeah, we're on it. So in the debate of, if you leave native behind because you got to know different languages for iOS and Android, you got to know, Kotlin or Java and Swift or Objective-C. So if you leave that behind, you're like, okay, I want to make this easier for developers, people that I get. You're left with either hybrid or cross-platform. So if you do a research into it, you realize that there's no real clear line on what is hybrid and what's cross-platform. It's very like a grayish area. People like to call the other one like cross-platform. They're like, yeah, that's hybrid. If you want to talk down upon it. Sorry. Oh yeah, React Native is hybrid. But yeah, React Native is cool. But so one definition is like, oh yeah, if it uses more than one language to be coded in, it's hybrid, like Cordova or PhoneGap used HTML, CSS, JavaScript, so that's hybrid. And then like in iOS itself, like native development, you can use Swift and Objective-C. So wait, is that hybrid development? So it's clearly native, but yeah. So the one that I landed on is like, oh, if you're able to access all the native APIs, it's pretty close to cross-platform. So cross-platform is very close to native development, and the performance has to be really good, and that's one place where Xamarin isn't really as performant as native. So it's like, oh well, maybe it's not. It depends. Yeah, exactly. It depends. It's not like always true. So going back, what's Xamarin's mission? What was the purpose of Xamarin? To make it easy, fun, simple to create mobile apps. Great mobile apps. And there's a lot of great mobile apps out there that you just don't know, but they're like top of the charts. Mm-hmm. Like one of the apps that I worked on, and I told a bunch of you, was number 5 on the iOS utility store. So it's an app that you pay your bills on. People hate paying their bills. It's like right below Google Chrome. So people love Google Chrome and they hate paying their bills, but it was still number 5. So Xamarin has a really, really good shot of being able to make really good apps. Yeah.
So the Microsoft is putting up a website with all of the success cases of apps that were built using Xamarin. So there's big apps like UPS, I think it's the name of the company. So there's a whole bunch of like big companies that built their applications using Xamarin.
How do they find out unless like people tell them?
You have to submit your success case to be displayed on the website.
And not many people do it. Exactly. Mm-hmm. It's like people think that Xamarin isn't as popular. They're like, oh, is Xamarin good? But like in reality, there's so many apps out there that just don't tell them. Like, I don't know if you've been getting phone calls about Delta Airlines. Anyone trying to get recruited by Delta? Oh, there we go. But Delta Airlines has like 20 positions or something for Xamarin developers, and everyone in North America is getting phone calls. So really quick, Xamarin has 2 parts, Xamarin Native and Xamarin Forms. One of the biggest advantages of Xamarin is that you can share backend logic. It's basically business logic. Is his account past due or not? Things like that, where it's not really dependent on the UI. It's like a view model layer, so you can just share it with a common backend. But with Xamarin Forms, you're also able to share UI logic. So you basically almost like 96%, 97%, you just code it once, and it shares across. So you don't really have to do much code. And so I like to call it the instant app maker, because it's so easy and so quick to make really beautiful apps. And people are like, what? You're already done? I thought it would take you a month to do. Anyway, and then, advantages are it's always up to date, always, they always catch up to the latest OS. So how to get started? It's really simple. Just download it from the internet. It's for free. You don't have to pay anything like you used to. You used to pay $1,000 a year before to get a license. Make sure you install everything. You're almost there, and that's it. You have it installed. Now, how do you get started? Just click on the button, click on the icon on your computer, hit New Project, choose a template for the blank Forms app, write your name, and hit Create. And then change it to iOS and hit play, and that's it. In 6 clicks, you have your first iOS app ever. Mm-hmm. So there's nothing stopping you from doing it today, guys. Nothing except yourselves. Do it. Mm-hmm. Just install it and press these 6 buttons and start. Okay, so now you guys have started. You guys have built your first app. There's a really good resource on how to move forward called the Xamarin Forms Control Reference. I don't know if is it still called the Xamarin Forms Control Reference? Maybe. You just Google it and you'll come to this. So this is something that, it's a good way of learning the basics is pages, layouts, views. Pages, layouts, views, PLV, pages, layouts, views. So there's a hierarchy in how your app page. So the top level of the hierarchy is the page, and stuff inside it is part of layouts, and then the views are basically like the button or the field, text, and so you can have multiple views inside a single layout. You can have multiple layouts inside a single page. As you can see over here, there's a tab page. There's a content page. Inside the content page, there's a stack layout. Inside the layout, there are entries and buttons, which are views. So pages, layouts, and views. And then there's different kinds of pages depending on what you want. Navigation page, tab page, layouts, different kinds of layouts, stack layout, absolute layout, carousel, scroll view, stuff like that. You can go through it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and make a really simple application for you guys, just so you guys know, how to get started with this. So over here, and I'll do this in the demo, but over here you can notice that we have a page. Inside the page we have a layout, which is the stack layout, and inside the layout we have views. So we have a label, we have an entry, which is basically a text field that you enter stuff in. We have a button, and then we change some of the properties, the color, the text, and then we have a button function. So I'm going to create a new. So I'm just going to follow the steps that I showed in that slide where getting started. So I'm just going to call it. What do I call it? Daniel is awesome.
Thank you, sir.
Alright. So the Daniel is awesome app. There's close. So I'm closing my existing app. And over here, you quickly notice if you change it to iOS, you change it to debug, you click on iPhone 5S, you hit play, it'll actually build it on the app. And it takes a few seconds because it's the first time and it's still loading. But the app page is the first page, it's the entry page. And right now it's pointed to the main page. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new page. So just add new file, a content page. I'm going to make it C# just because it's easier to do, because you don't have to deal with binding, two-way binding, or binding in general. Here, so I just hit play. I didn't make any changes, and we already have the app. So now, creating the new page. What we're going to create today is like a crush finder. So it basically tells you, it tells you your future. So you put in the girl's name, and you try to find out if she likes you or not. And depending on whether she likes you or not, you actually message her. Others you don't. So I'm going to call it the crush finder page. Crush finder page, and I'm going to change this to point to the crush finder page instead of that other page. And I'm going to bring in the code that I have in my repository that's also in the slide that I shared with you guys. Ooh. So anyone trying to get to my repository, just go to github.com/SaamerM. It's pinned. It's just called Where's My Kombucha. You guys can find it right there. I'm just going to copy this code. And here, crush finder page. And I'm going to hit play. So we already went over the code. This is the constructor, and inside it there's all these views. We add those views into the layout, and then we set the content property of the page to be that layout.
Saamer, can you enlarge the font?
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Yes.
Thanks.
Yeah. So, oh, there we go. So this is the page. Inside the page, we have the constructor. Inside the constructor, we have different views. We add those views to this layout over here, and then we add that layout to the content property of the page, and then we hit play. So over here, we have our app. So you guys saw what I did. So let's see. I still have a crush on Angelina Jolie. Let's see if she's good enough for me. Angelina Jolie. Find out if she likes you. So I tap on it. Say, nah, she ain't into you. It's rejection. You can stop already. Clicking isn't going to help. So, all right, fine. So that's basically what we have for that. Some other resources for Xamarin Forms is the Xamarin University. It used to be there. I think they moved over, or they are moving over.
So it's still there.
Okay, still there. Okay, and then we have like some university professors too in our community from the Xamarin University. And there's the Xamarin Docs, and there's the Visual Studio App Center. So now that you guys kind of have an idea of how to build apps, we're going to move to the next part. Hopefully this is more exciting for all of you. So, how many of you know the difference between microcontrollers and microprocessors? No one? Okay, so a microprocessor is basically inside your computers, your CPUs, they have microprocessors. The microprocessor is also a Raspberry Pi. Raspberry Pis, as you guys know, are like, oh, the cool new thing. And so these are microprocessors. They hook up to HDMI cables or whatever, a display. Inside the microprocessor are multiple microcontrollers. And so the smallest unit of, not the smallest unit, but like one of the smaller units of a microprocessor is a microcontroller. And so when you create products, when you look for IoT products, they usually are microcontrollers. They're not really microprocessors. And then they certify, they go through all that process. So we're developing a microcontroller today, not a microprocessor. We're not doing Raspberry Pi stuff. Because I feel like that's cheating. It's like you're just coding a computer.
It's like Arduino versus Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, Arduino is a microcontroller, exactly, and Raspberry Pi is a microprocessor. Do you guys know the difference between direct current and alternating current, like AC and DC? No? How many people know it? Okay, so AC can kill you, DC cannot kill you, isn't that? No, DC can kill you, AC can't, or something like that.
They can both kill you.
Yeah, because isn't that what like Tesla tried to sell AC current, but then like I think it was Edison, he hooked up like
Usually direct current.
He hooked up AC to an elephant and he electrocuted an elephant. And then they were like, oh yeah, we don't want to use AC, we want to use DC. So DC is less dangerous. In DC current, the ground is the black wire, is the negative. And that's different from generally normal standards. So the ground is the black wire, is the negative. The ground is the negative. Okay? And so there's a lot of different kinds of microcontrollers. There's the ESP32, which is considered like the new thing. It's just $4. And then there's the particle photon, which I have over here. And then there's your normal Arduino. So the difference is generally is that the ESP32 has Bluetooth and Wi-Fi on the board. And the particle photon, and it's $4. The photon is like $20, $25, and it has only Wi-Fi, but you have access to the particle cloud, which is very, very valuable. Because like building a cloud around your microcontroller is a lot to get into, especially if you're just starting. And then also the LED bulbs have two legs or two leads. One of them is longer, the other one is shorter. So if you're trying it at home and you look at this and you're like, oh, why isn't it going on? It's probably because you flipped it over. So the shorter end is negative, and so that one connects to the ground. So it won't really work. And also with the particle photon, you can just code it through the browser. So that's pretty awesome. And then you have access to the particle function, variable, and events. Generally, if I'm running out of time, let me know, right? Okay, so generally you hook up your device to your computer, but with the particle photon, you don't need to hook it up. You can just like connect it to a power bank. And then the particle function is basically like a function that you can call from outside the device. You can use your phone, you can use your browser to call that function that's on your device. So it's pretty cool. And then variable is just like a variable that you can view from outside. So this is the browser where you actually put the code. You see over there on the top, there's a flash sign over here, right there. Oh. Flash basically means you're putting the code onto the device. How many of you have like done work with microcontrollers? Not many people? Really exciting stuff. It's really fun stuff. I would highly suggest, especially the particle photon. It comes with a kit that's like $50, and you can do like amazing things. If you just search particle photon community, there's so many projects that you can do. And so when I'm like showing you guys this stuff, just like think of your own ideas, like your own projects that you wanted to do, and you can actually do it. So once you buy it, you get access to this build.particle.io. You can put your code there. Most of the C++ embedded code has two functions. There's the setup function and the loop function. The setup, basically, as soon as you turn it on, it goes through that setup function, and then the loop function, it just goes on all the time, like throughout its life that the device is on. It just goes through that loop function. So it'll just be void setup and then void loop. And over here you see we just set up these pins. Basically there's different pins on the device. There's different pins on the device. And so we're assigning values to these pins in that function. And I have the C++ code also on the GitHub cluster if you guys ever want to go through it. So I'm not going to dig too deep because I know it might get a little boring, but I'm going to just teach you some of the basics. So the thing that you guys are seeing the whole setup on is called a breadboard. Like this is a breadboard. A resistor, do you guys know what resistors are used for? So basically bulbs are pretty small, and so if you put in like high voltage, even 5 volts through them, they will like blow up. So you got to put a resistor to reduce that voltage, essentially, to drop the potential. And so this over here is a resistor. That's the light. These are just cables. You see over there is the ground. Wait, it says, is that 3 volt? Oh yeah, here's the ground. So what did we say ground was?
Line.
Yeah, good job. All right, cool. So he hooked up the ground to the negative over here, and then since it's a breadboard, these are vertical lines and these are horizontal lines. So that negative goes all the way up, goes through this resistor, and then this is a horizontal line, so it goes through this LED bulb, goes the other way, goes this way back through the horizontal line, and then he hooks that all the way down to D6. Okay, so our device is a little different. Our device is we use D0 and D7. So this is D7, and we use D0. Okay. So the other advantage of using the particle cloud is that you can actually make changes. Like you can actually switch. Just make changes. So if you hook up like a fan to it, you can say turn the fan on from like either a browser or a phone. So particle really is awesome in that way. Over here I have two resistors because there's one resistor going through one LED, which is red, and we have another resistor going through the other LED, which is blue. So basically, what we're trying to do is, if kombucha is available, it's blue. If kombucha is not available, it's red. You know, so someone basically puts it on their phone saying, "Oh yeah, kombucha is gone," and everyone finds out. Particle variable. You know, basically, like I said, it's a variable that you have access to, so you can change from outside the app, and you have access to it, you know, globally. And so you're able to use it in a mobile app. For example, over here, you know, if that responds, so that's the URL. So if you just call that URL from your browser, your phone, you get this response, this JSON response. You check for the result, and if the result is 0, you know, turn the background red. Oh, wait, what? Where did that go? Oop.
Comes back on.
Is everyone following so far?
Yep.
Everyone following? Is it pretty boring?
It went dark over here too. Try to unplug and plug it again.
I thought it was one of you guys. Like, yeah, this is so boring. Let's just like, stop this. Stream.
Oh, the fun with this Elgato. No? Yes? No good? Remember the same thing happened with Mark last week,
Yeah.
or last month.
So here, can you store an HTML page inside of this?
You should be able to.
Really?
You should be able to. In these ESP32s, that's what you do in order to do the whole setup for Wi-Fi. Like once you actually create your device.
Oh,
Oh, hey, there we go.
Back in
it's there. Not here.
Once you actually create your device and you want to, you know, do the setup at someone's house, he basically and you know you connect to the Wi-Fi, you know connect to that HTML, and then you put in the SSID and password, and that's how like that device connects to the local internet. Yeah.
I worked with one of these before, but I was using the local network. It's an old one, like 10 years ago.
Oh, a local network.
Yeah, the LAN.
Oh, okay, okay, cool. no, like these have come so far. Like these have come so far, you know, from what they used to be. Come on.
Bear with us for a second.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, there we go.
Good.
Angelina Jolie.
Yeah.
Get out of my face. All right, that was Angelina Jolie. Sure. All right, cool. So.
Should come up.
So JSON file, and depending on the result.
Bear with me. Okay, here we go. It's back here.
Okay, we're back.
All right, based on the result, if it's 0, that means it's off. If it's 1, that's the way I set it up in the code. If it's 1, that means it's, you know, there is kombucha. If it's 0, you know, if it's negative, if it's any other number, that means there's just no connection. So yeah, you know, just stay with me. You know, people who are crazy about kombucha, it's like, you know, almost there, guys, almost there. If this then that. How many of you have used if this then that? Oh yeah, cool. A few more people. So with this, with particle, and what you can do with like, you know, the others, and it's very difficult to set up with the others, you can actually hook it up directly to if this and that. So if your variable is 0, you know, if it's off, you can just go to if this and that and say, if this, which is the particle, wait, really quick explanation about if this and that. It basically allows you to check for a certain condition, and then it does a certain action after that. So if it's going to rain in your locality, it can tell you by sending a text message to you or calling you and saying, hey, you know, it's all free. Really, really cool service. So you can use particle, you know, you can monitor the variable, and you know, you choose that as a trigger. So if there is kombucha, it calls you and it's like, hey, dude, kombucha's on, you know, and then you like go. So that's really, really cool. Let me demo this part to you. There's quite a few things over there. So first of all, I'm going to show you the, so I have the particle, I don't know, is this visible, everyone? So I have the particle set up, just like I showed in the picture. And right now, there's no kombucha, so the light is red over there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the website, and I basically just got the code from their code examples. So you go to the website, and let me increase the size. So this is all the code that was needed. It's just the URL, you know, you put in the access token. Wait, where's my access token? See, go there. Oh snap, no, that's not the access token. Okay, put the access token in, and like these are like 4 lines of code, you know? And you say, hey, what's the status of the kombucha? The kombucha has arrived. So I just hit dispatch message, and you know the light turned. Let me show it again. Reload. So okay, access token again. I just haven't saved my access token so people don't do crazy stuff while I'm down. And then so I say, hey, the burger's finished all the kombucha. So I dispatch message, and you guys should watch here. It's blue right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. So I mean, this is like web code. I didn't really do anything over there. But since we're mobile developers, or aspire to be mobile developers, we're going to create a new file. That was awesome. Add a new file. We're going to call it, let's see, what do we call it? We call it, not the question page. Kombucha page. Kombucha page. I don't own a kombucha company. Alright. I gotta add the Newtonsoft package. So NuGet packages are basically libraries that you can add on. So it's like a ton of code that you don't have to rewrite. You can just use. So I'm adding a JSON package, which is very popular, called Newtonsoft. I'm going to, come on. Okay, so I'm going to add my access token in. Ooh. Copy.
Is that token a production token? No, right?
It is a production token.
It is.
But I mean, it's my own account.
You might
Okay.
want to just undo,
You might want to control that a little bit.
those, yeah, there you go.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Very cool. There we go. Okay, cool. So over here, what you'll notice, again, pages, layouts, views, isn't it? So inside the kombucha page, we have to set the app to show the kombucha page instead now. So we go to the app, .xaml.cs, replace it with kombucha page. Inside our kombucha page, we have the page, and there's a constructor. There's views around here. We have a view outside the constructor because we want to be able to access it everywhere. We have commands. We're using other views called buttons. And then we have a layout. The layout contains the buttons and the result label. And these are the particle functions that I talked to you about. So essentially, let me show you guys the code of this particle device. So on the C++ side, as you guys will see, it's super, super small as well. Like, guys, you don't have to be smart in order to do this. I am not smart, and I can do this. So you can definitely do it. Remember what we talked about, there's a setup function and then there's a loop function. Those are the two main functions. Setup, the loop is empty right now because it doesn't do anything on loop. And there's a setup function. So we set up the pins over here, and then we have the particle function, and then we have the particle variable. The variable basically just stores the current status of the device. And the function is basically the function that you can call from any other device to change the status of the device. So, we have the LED toggle function that we created. So if you send a request, an API request, or just that HTML thing with LED, just put the value in as on or off, it will change the value like this. It just writes it. If it's high, that means it's on. If it's low, that means it's off. So what we're doing is that we're saying whenever you send an on command, whenever you're saying that the kombucha is available, we're just turning on one light, turning off the other. It looks really cool with all these lights, but at the end of the day, it's not really rocket science. And then we have the variable digital value. We're just declaring it outside and we're just setting it over here. Okay, so now you know what's there on this C++ side. Since we made a mobile app and we want to make it a little cooler, we have these like LED on function and LED off function, and then we have the result label update. So it'll update the result label to kombuchas here, and it'll change the color to blue, and it'll change the background color to sky blue if there is kombucha available. And if it's not available, then it'll say kombucha's gone. It'll change the background color, it'll change the text color. And this is the get kombucha status function. Like I said, it's just a URL. That's it. That's all that's there for the check status. This is where we deserialize the response. The JSON object that we get, we actually help the app understand. And since I did not abstract my class, I just put my models over here. This is the model that was formed. Okay, so let's try this out. So you guys saw the CodePen stuff. Do you guys know what CodePen is? It's basically a page that you can deploy, like a website that you can deploy rapidly. It shows rapid changes. And you guys saw the C++ code, and now you guys are seeing, you guys saw the C# code for the mobile apps. Now here's the app. So the color was red, so it's, the kombucha is gone, so the LED is red over here, and so over here also it recognizes that the LED is red because we have the particle variable. So if the kombucha is refilled, you just click the full button and bam. So bam, kombucha's gone, bam, kombucha's here.
Nice.
Super, super responsive. And I mean, guys, this is really simple stuff, and you guys can all be inventors and all have Kickstarter pages, and I will support you guys. I'm serious. Yeah. So in a world of soda, be kombucha. Be the good person. Be the good guy. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So I have to access the board. Did you use any specific library or?
No, that's what I mentioned in the beginning, that this is one of the few boards that you can actually just do all online.
Mm-hmm.
So you just go to build.particle.io and just upload the code.
Just
here.
hit the API there, right?
It just needs your device ID.
It just
API key.
you just log in. It's even easier.
It already knows that stuff.
It already knows that stuff.
So you register the board to your account?
Yeah, you just register your board to the account. It's very simple to do, and it makes it very, very easy. There's no reason not to start doing it.
Yeah, I've never used a particle before.
Yeah.
I've used all kinds of other stuff, and it's the legwork you have to put into wiring it all up to make sure it can communicate through the internet. You have to use all kinds of.
Yeah.
You basically need a message hub, right?
Yes.
So
yeah.
I used Pugnub before to do
Yeah.
messaging back and
Yeah.
forth, and it's a pain.
It is a pain, and I mean they even have like a console over here to check your status. You know they. But this is basically what I was talking to you about. Like, you just put your code in over here, and they have all these. They give you all these examples as well. So blink an LED. You know, they give you so much code to. Yeah.
Nice.
You just click the flash button, and bam, it's on. You know, you don't even have to be connected by wire. I just did it for power
That's cool.
because my battery pack was dead. But yeah,
Awesome.
thank you for that.
Thanks, Samir.
So,